Thanks, Bart. Good afternoon and welcome to the Duluth Public Schools HR Business Services Committee meeting for the month of November. We're getting started today at 4:35, and I'll ask for some kindness and grace today. I just had my eyes dilated, so it might take me a little bit to get through the agenda. So we're starting with no guest presentations for this meeting, and we'll move on to our departmental report, starting out with human resources. And it's good to see for the month of October, we had quite a few certified and non-certified staff hirings that outnumbered both our retirement, resignations, and leave of absence, so that's great to see. During the month of October, the HR team, along with finance, has been looking and working with our staff, with our staffing at the sites to look at our budgets to make sure that we're gathering feedback from all of our different sites. In October, our HR leadership staff attended the Minnesota Association of School Personnel Administrators, or MASPA, the fall conference, making sure that we are staying up on the latest legal updates regarding earned, safe, and sick time and the Minnesota unemployment laws. We're also making sure that in the conference, our staff learned about culturally competent leadership practices and strategized on implementation within our district. This was also a great networking opportunity for our district's leaders as they connected with HR professionals across the state. Also in October, our HR staff members attended a professional development training at Denfeld. The training focused on cultural competency and inclusion. This work is very important as we expand our staff to make sure the staff and teachers that we have working here at the district are reflective of the students that are in our building. The staff attended training on such topics as cultural definitions and behaviors, inclusion mobility museums, Ojibwe faces and stories, connections between ableism and equity in special education, Ojibwe language, a conversation with ISD 709 family and community outreach specialists. In November, our members of our HR team will attend the Duluth Chamber of Commerce Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion workshops, and this workshop will offer guidance on how our business community can support and uplift our Indigenous-led organizations and provide valuable insight into local Indigenous culture. Moving along to benefits, the benefits department is currently running open enrollment for dental, vision, and FSA plans. Open enrollment will run from November 4th to the 15th. At the end of October, our district hosted 3 sessions for our retired employees. And these sessions covered changes in insurance and changes in Medicare for 2025. The department also hosted a financial planning night in partnership with several of our benefits offering people, FSA, and how to use their HRA, their 403B benefits, their retirement savings. In December, our employees are going to start utilizing their Calm subscriptions. We'll be able to participate in a program called Ground Yourself during a stressful time. This program is 1 week in length and offered through the Calm app, and it gives our employees access to curated meditations about change, uncertainty, and holiday stress. Employees are going to make sure to receive that information through an email and also some push notifications with Calm. And our first retirement information session for our employees looking to retire this year will start on November 25th from 4 to 5. Currently, for our contract negotiations, we're still working with our district-wide Instructional Administrators Association. We're still working to finalize that next meeting, and this is our last group to negotiate with the 2023-2025 cycle. So, do we have any questions? Member Sadowski.
Yeah, not a question, just more of a comment. I think it's worth pointing out when we look at the new hires, at the top of our report, just wanted to give thanks for the thoughtfulness that our team is having with the budget cuts that we're looking at over the next year. I know that there's been a lot of thought put into the guiding change document, and also just as people retire, looking at attrition, looking at combining positions where we can. And so I just wanted to point that out and thank everyone for their work on that.
And I also just had a quick question about when you all went to the MASPA conference and talking about the earned, safe, and sick time and Minnesota unemployment laws. Director Severance, could you just give us a little summary about what that's going to look like and how that impacts the district?
Certainly. The Earn Sick and Safe Time, some changes coming forward that we actually implemented when we put the Earn Sick and Safe Time into place. We opted to provide all of our sick leave that our employees are entitled to be used as Earn Sick and Safe, which is now going into a requirement by the state. So fortunately, we already did it. We don't have to worry about going forward with doing that. And as related to the unemployment laws, the conversations were really just, again, around the continued unemployment benefits that are now for employees that previously didn't have them, and kind of those unfunded costs. And right now, we are getting some subsidy payments for those, but that will go away, I believe, in a couple of years, if not after next year. And what does that mean for us as a district? And so kind of talking about it with colleagues about, is there different strategies on how we employ people and what that might look like? And we had the unemployment office actually there trying to kind of help guide the conversation. Although they didn't make the rules specifically, they're certainly helping to support us.
Great. So you feel like we are where we need to be at this time as we navigate through some of these earned sick and safe time and the unemployment laws, that we're good and comfortable in our positions as we move forward.
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe we are. And the other one that's not noted on here that's coming up is the paid family medical leave that will be coming in the beginning of 2026. And so there was also some discussion there preliminarily about what that would look like and that impact and how that will operate. But we'll be diving much deeper into that as we get into the new year for 2025. But I think we'll be okay with that as well.
Great. Thank you. Do we have any other questions for Director Severance? Great. All right, now let's move on into our business services, and we'll take a minute to look at our enrollment report. And currently, right now, we have 8,168 students, so we're above our budgeted number, which was around 8,068, right? So about 100 students above that. And as we go through the year, we'll see those numbers fluctuate, especially come December when we see some students graduating early. So those numbers will change as it goes along, but right now we've been doing a pretty good job the last couple years, budgeting well, I would say, for the number of students in the district. And I would also point out that we continue to bring students back into the Duluth Public Schools. So that's always encouraging to see.
So one thing that, just to comment on, a lot of our budget meetings, we've been doing site budget meetings, and thank you, Member Sadowski, for pointing out some of the things we're doing with hiring and thinking about the staff we have and the new staff with our budget reductions and such. But one comment that's come up quite often is a desire for us to focus on increasing enrollment, and that's something that we've been working on, and we're also going to be starting an enrollment campaign. We'll be informing the board in the near future about what that will look like. Not that we haven't been focusing on enrollment, but it's going to be a more concerted effort, and I think that will pay off because we've got a great school system with great teachers, and more people are coming to us.
That's great, John, and I always love to see us be bold and talk about all the wonderful things we have for students. So it's going to be great to go out in the communities in a concerted effort to just spread the good news about the good work you all are doing. So that's great. Moving on to the Child Nutrition Departmental Report. So the Super Snack after.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Henry.
Yeah, just a comment. I want to thank you all for adding or including the adult education numbers, because I felt that was real important to have that information. So having it here is really good. So thank you.
Thank you.
We'll follow that up with the Super Snack after-school program. It's a great name. So the after-school meal program at Denfeld was started in October and matches the after-school DASH program. The average numbers of students grabbing a bite to eat after school is around 75 students in the afternoon, so that's great to see. This month is Farm to School Month, so as we support that, we purchased fresh Honeycrisp apples developed at the University of Minnesota, local lettuce and romaine mixes, acorn squash, local tomatoes, and other fresh produce that we made available to our students in our schools. We also took part in the Great Lakes Apple Crunch on the 10th of October, and anyone that wants to can crunch into an apple, anyone that wants to can crunch into an apple at lunchtime. Okay, sorry, that took me a little bit. We had a special guest this year, Mr. Appleseed showed up, and the child nutrition equipment technician, Ken Witt, dressed up and spread coloring book pages and stickers at a few of the elementary schools over mealtime. And here he is with the great crew at Piedmont, and he was very well received and even was asked for his autograph. That's great. The Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program, this program grant was again awarded to Myers Wilkins and was started in October. Our students at Myers will get exposure to a variety of fruits and vegetables that they may not normally get at home, as well as midday snacks. And this grant works with Community Schools Collaborative to be able to produce this service to students. And I think whether it's the Super Snack After School program, the Farm to School, or the Fresh Fruits and Vegetables, I think it's important for us to point out to our community that our students in the Duluth Public Schools have access to all sorts of fresh fruit and vegetables during lunch and during their meals there. So that's just important that our kids have healthy options, and we do focus on that at the Duluth Public Schools. We also have our report on the back of the number of students that are eating breakfast and lunch at our different schools. So that is available to the public to be able to see. Do we have any questions or anything in addition for our child nutrition departmental report? We're good? Excellent. All right, moving on to facilities. So facilities, as always, is working very, very hard. They've completed 278 work orders and are currently working on about 270. We have an insurance claim with Kemp Sedgwick for damages to the loading dock at Lowell. That's been completed and closed. A survey is scheduled for district property on Pioneer Road in the next couple weeks. And the district's sidewalk rehab work has begun. And then, of course, winter prep on all of our equipment. We now have an idea of the scope of work at Myers Wilkins after we had the accident and the vehicle running into the gym. Bids have been received by ICS, and we're going to start that gym repair. Rick's Tree Service removed all the dead trees at East. They're working on the chiller at Myers Wilkins, and boiler inspections with Liberty Mutual have all been done. And we're waiting on Minnesota Power to inspect power poles for replacement at Homecroft. Operations have filled 2 positions, one a returning employee at East with Ryan and one at Lincoln with Jacob. So we're so happy to have Ryan and Jacob as part of our ISD 709 community. This week, we received a couple letters of resignations for 2 custodians. So right now, currently, we have 2 second shift engineer positions open, 2 positions at Denfeld and Ordine, 1 second shift at Myers, and 2 open custodian positions at Denfeld and Lowell. So we're always looking for those people to come into our community. Everything else looks good. And I did see in the morning on Fox, we still have our ads running for employment for the Duluth Public Schools, so they do look great.
Yes, thank you. If we could go back for just a second
Yes.
to the nutritional services.
Oh, yeah, sorry,
report.
John.
No, I was very slow on the draw. Just wanted to address the change that we had related to food service with the ALC AAO. There were some changes based on the Department of Health and some changes statewide, but could you address those, Executive Director Zinich?
The ALC is no longer receiving hot meals due to the fact that the Department of Health came in, and we are not adequately, how do I want to say, have enough. We can't keep any food warm there or hot. We've offered to bring in hot plates. We've had the staff there actually offered to get certified, which has been wonderful. They've been really understanding about it, the ALC staff, and the Department of Health said no. So that is why now they're down to cold meals. But any student that wishes to have a warm meal can go to one of the high schools. They will be served, okay? And the team down there has been notified of that. So there would have to be some pretty, significant changes to accommodate. We don't own that building, we rent. And so that's what the issue is there. So there are between 30 and 40 meals served every day And so right now, it's a cold bag lunch. Question? Could you have a question?
But they do know if they need, they can go to the high schools and get.
Yes.
Okay, that's
Yes,
great.
Yes.
I'm just curious how this impacts our planning for the Duluth News Tribune building and making sure that our ALC students can have warm lunches down the line.
We were made aware of that as soon as it came down and are working with the designers of for the plans to ensure that we have an adequate kitchen based on what the Department of Health said we have to have for the new site.
Okay, that's good, because I think it would be pretty hard for them to get to one of the high schools for a
Yes.
warm meal, but I think that it's nice that it's an option, but.
Yeah, agreed.
And also, this is based on changes in recent Department of Health requirements. So we were meeting standard up until this point, but then there was a change relatively recently, and so now the new requirements we don't meet. So it's not as though something was discovered that we were doing wrong. It was just that they had changed their criteria.
So Sheila Oak, our food nutrition supervisor, will be coming to the committee of the whole meeting. She will be going over the summer food audit that we had, and that's kind of when all of this came place, because they were still preparing foods at one site, bringing it over, and then they finally dug into everything and said, no, we really can't do it that way. So that's how all of this came to be. Like I said, Sheila Oak will be here, I think it's the 19th, November 19th, and we'll talk to all of you about it.
Okay,
Okay?
great.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? All right, moving on to technology. Pause for a second, allow Bart to come up.
Just to let you guys know that the live stream audio is working, but the video is not. I was trying to make sure these screens were up prior to the meeting, and it still has a copyright issue on it, so I will work on that. It had nothing to do with the vendor, it had everything to do with me. I started at 26 after, and I saw that there was no video once we started the meeting, so I apologize for that. But going on to my monthly report, for cybersecurity, we had 1.4 million emails received, accepted, 154,000 were rejected, 54,000 went into user spam folder, 5,100 were identified as phishing, 34 were identified as suspicious attachments, 7,400 were identified as spoofing, and we had 0 emails with malware. Accounts were up this month, as well as suspended accounts. Storage was up as well. External file sharing was up. Suspicious login attempts was up. Failed login attempts was down. And the data loss preventions was down, which is good. And then we have 3 bids out there, and they're all E-rate related. 2 of them are going to be opened on the 19th of November, Tuesday. Will be brought to the school board in December. And the other one is for cybersecurity, and that one's still with USAC, figuring out what the next steps are. They had $200 million over a 3-year cybersecurity program, and they received $3.7 billion worth of applicants. So now they have to sort through those and let the school districts know which ones can move forward. So I'm going to wait to hear if we can move forward on that.
Bart, I just wanted to write that
Sure.
down. So they set aside, the federal government set aside 200 million,
200 million,
and they received two,
$3.7 billion worth of requests for cybersecurity from 2,700 school districts across the country. So,
okay,
in a lot
thank
of
you.
schools that I've heard, some of the schools in the metro area just put everything they could, millions of dollars on some of the bigger schools, knowing they won't get it, but just saying that there's a big need for this for K-12 schools. So the next one is the technology help desk tickets. 535 new tickets were created, 551 were solved, and 366 tickets remain open. And then for the Bloom AV team, they will be back. They're scheduled to come back on the week of the 16th to take a look at the smartboard audio systems they installed. And in roughly 300 classrooms. They're just going to make sure they use the proper fasteners on those audio systems. And they'll be working after hours, after our kids are out at the elementary as well as the secondary schools. And the last one, or the next project we had, was the ARC data move. It was a big effort by my team. We were able to do it over the break weekend, MEA break weekend. We worked Thursday, all day Friday, and half a day Saturday doing that. And we got everything moved and stuff back up and running. So we're happy. And then I listed the people who were involved with that. Janet Young, Will Housley, he was our contractor that we brought in for this, on-site contractor. Jeremy from Spectrum, Nick Stevenmurph, he was a former employee. We had to call him up for help. And he spent 3 hours on the phone helping Will out. Nextera technician was on site as well. And I can't thank the ARC and Volta data team enough for being there and helping with the vendors, getting them going to get their services in place and stuff for us to start working. The last one is the Google carbon footprint. And it was kind of weird because I would see some of these numbers going up and down. It's like, it makes sense when we have more activity that they would go up per month, but the overall, it would go down, and I was trying to figure that out, but it's actually the time period. It's from October 23 to September 24, so it's a year. So depending on what part of the year, that's going to go up and down. So if it takes over that, that September, October, November timeframe, it starts increasing. So that was my report. Any questions?
Thank you, and please make sure, Bart, to thank your team for doing all that work. That's incredibly important, and that's really hard work, and it doesn't take much for it to go wrong very, very quickly. So thank you for that care. Appreciate that. Do we have questions? Yes, Member Banks.
Just one question. Under the account information, can you explain why there are so many suspended accounts and what that means? It's like almost 5,000.
Yeah, so the suspended accounts, we have all the students that haven't completed their blended learning, which is a small number. We have all the staff that have left the district, and we hold those for 4 years. So as people retire and stuff or leave the district, we hold those accounts for 4 years. All the seniors we hold till December. So the seniors that graduated, so we're going to hold those accounts just in case they need something. So we still have that. So once after December, though, that number will go down a little bit as well. But we hold accounts for quite a while after people leave and students leave.
Yeah.
I just, too, want to, on behalf of the district, thank you and your team for all the work that went into that. I know it was a huge, huge endeavor, and it was very much appreciated, still very much appreciated. And also considering that this is one of your last technology reports before retirement, I just want to say on behalf of the district that we are really going to miss your leadership and your creativity and just your drive for excellence that you put forward in your work every day. It's really exemplar, and just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more left with you, don't we? Before you, okay, good, all right. Whew, okay. All right, moving on to transportation. Probably the biggest concern right now we have in transportation is staffing. We need more drivers and we need more helpers. We do have some interest in a van driver, and we also are going to be posting some more full-time bus driving positions. Our buses are running well, and our mechanics do a great job, but when we need them, they are great at making sure to cover for our sick drivers. So we appreciate our transportation department greatly. I think that's everything. I don't think there's anything else.
Can I ask a question on
please.
transportation? So if we have concerns about needing more drivers, what about the stress on the current drivers, and how are they dealing with workload? It's a question because I needed to ask it because of safety and all of those kinds of concerns.
Well, we do have the mechanism in place that I think if a person is stressed and really they have sick leave, they have a mental health day they need to take. Our transportation manager and supervisor are standing at the door every morning when our drivers walk in. They physically view everybody, check in with everybody. And I think they do a good job of trying to stay in contact with them. The transportation department, they're very vocal, and they will, they'll let Jeremy and Joe know if things are not going well. And then, they're very good, as is Sheila Oak with food service. They're very good at just pivoting at all times, all day. And so I think that if they need to take a day, they do. So, but thanks for caring about that.
That finishes up our departmental reports, and so we have 3 recommended resolutions that will be at the full board meeting. We have our acceptance of donations to the Duluth Public Schools. We have an authorized bank signature, and then we also have an acceptance of grants as well. Is there anything to add to any, Executive Director Zunich, do you just want to talk a little bit about the bank signer and how that works?
That is a housekeeping item. Cameron Jokey moved on to a different position, so we needed to remove her, and Sarah Gulan is now the signer there.
Thank you. Do we have any questions on any of the recommended resolutions? Great. Next, we have so the recommended resolutions will be at the full board meeting, and next we'll talk about information on the consent agenda. We have the HR staffing report. We also have the financial report and the fundraisers. Is there anything on here of note right now? It looks like our budget is exactly where we need it to be at this time of the year. Do we have any questions from the board? Great. We also have our fundraisers. These are always a great time. These are always a lot of fun to look through to see what our students are raising funds for. So that will be on our consent agenda. Moving next to bids, RFPs, and quotes. We have none this week. For our contracts, change orders, and leases, we have a lease for a Leaf black and white copier for the print shop, and we also have a contract with ICS for Myers-Wilkin, the work that needs to be done on Myers-Wilkins. Do we have any questions on any of those items? Has the work started on Myers? Is that just getting started, or is it?
The work has started limited. There's been some shoring up and closure of a wall into the gym, and we're just working through the process with ICS and our insurance company so that we can get moving on the rest of the completion of the project.
Okay. All right, so for this month, we have several expenditure contracts signed from Arrowhead Radio and Security, CDW, KQDS, all sorts of different expenditure contracts that are listed in the agenda for this month. And then we have some no-cost contracts and then also some revenue contracts as well. Is there anything of note in any of these, Executive Director Zunich? I didn't see anything that jumped out to me. All right, do we have any questions? All right, if we don't have any questions,